Ready? Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to GHFL board meeting. It is July 15th, 2021. And my hope is that we can dispense with some of the new business fairly quickly, just because I've kind of broken them up into pieces, easily digestible pieces where we know what we're going to be talking about. That's okay to make sure that that we talk about them during this conference. So the first thing is approval of the June minutes. I think Vadim set a new world record of getting the minutes out like within 37 minutes of our meeting ending. So I want to give him a standing ovation for that. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty amazing. Thank you, Vadim. Did anybody
last record of getting it out 5 minutes before the next meeting started? So
no, that was great. I love it. So question is, did anybody have any comments, requests for changes, wording, or anything like that? I'm not hearing any objections. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes unanimously now, otherwise they'll be approved unanimously.
I second that.
Anybody want to object to the minutes? Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Vadim. Treasurer's report, Bridget. Oh, I'm sorry, you're eating.
I wanted to spare you guys and had like my professional picture up, but here we are, folks.
It's okay.
All right. So this is, it hasn't changed since the email I sent, which is good, maybe. The treasurer's report, we have $1,899.42 in our checking. We have $5,125.63 in our savings, and our bottle drop balance is $260.30. Over and out.
All right. Has that changed since last month? I mean, the bottle drop amount might have, and Tiffany can speak to it. Bridget, do you know if that number has changed? The bank account probably hasn't, but has the bottle drop amount changed?
Hi there. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bridget. All right, Tiffany, you're up then.
Hi there. It probably went up just a few dollars. It always kind of goes up just a little bit. I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have last month's bottle drop ledger in front of me. I think I snapshot it and gave it to Bridget, but yeah, it goes up every just a little bit because I do the bottle drop bags and I drop them in the machine, so I know. And I got some more in the garage waiting to go in. So yeah, that number should be up just a bit.
Well,
Okay.
and I can let you guys know if there's been growth as part of my treasurer's report before meetings. If that makes things easier, I can just let you guys know what it was previously and where we're at now. That's super easy to do, and it won't create more work for Tiffany, who is one of the busiest people on the planet. And I would just compare it to where we were last month. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
that'll be great, especially if we're going to go through with Goose Holidays, that amount is going to go up or down depending upon what we do. So that would be very helpful. So Tiffany, I take it that there have been no expenditures on, pay for trash.
No, I'll do a couple, I'll probably buy some blue bottle drop bags and labels, and I have to replenish them out in our Goose Hollow community at our 3 local businesses that have the bags out for people in the community to get. So that's like real minimal. It's like probably like $6 or $10 for those bags. I'm not sure yet. I just got to go down to the store. I tried to go buy the labels before this meeting,
Okay.
but I couldn't even get in the door. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bridget. I don't think anybody has any objections to the treasurer's report because it's essentially the same as it has been in the past. And that gives us a good working balance to operate with. So we're in good shape. All right, let's move to new business. I don't know if everyone has had a chance to review the draft letter that I wrote, but that was a result of many meetings that we've had in the planning committee meeting. And in the last one a few weeks ago, we ultimately voted to approve the writing of a letter that incorporated certain comments and objections to the Block 7 project. It was focused on certain elements. If someone wants to read the essentially kind of the minutes of where we went point by point of some of the different design concepts and what we had comments about, I can certainly send it to you. But you know, we ended up writing a 6-page letter that is eventually going to be coming from the neighborhood association if we approve it. I sent a draft for all of you to review, and I hope you had a chance to review it. And please give me your comments for changes, additions, subtractions, anything like that. And then we can go ahead and vote to approve or deny. So does anybody have any comments on the letter? I can bring it up just on my screen so that people can kind of take a look at what it looks like. So I'm going to share a screen for now, just a second.
Eva had sent something in the chat about if you can just go over the main points just quickly. So for her.
Summarize the points. It's essentially it's too big for its location in the neighborhood, and it's too tall in certain points where it's right up against the sidewalk, so that it would negatively affect the pedestrian experience along a street and a street corner. That pretty much kind of highlights or summarizes some of the elements of it. And this is something, if the letter is approved, that it will go out to the neighborhood so that the neighborhood will see what points we raised. And as I said in the agenda, that I'm encouraging neighbors to put forth their own personal comments, and I've given a contact person in which to send them. And we need to do that by July 22nd so that it gets considered and put in the report.
Scott, let me ask just one question. You know, the term NIMBYism, is that a well-known acronym with planners and stuff like that?
Yes, it's probably, but I think every planner would know about that term. It's I'm sure overused, and it's certainly used in the news many times. And I think planners are probably sick of either hearing the term or hearing from people who they consider to be NIMBYs. And so that's why I'm encouraging people to do just kind of the facts. You know, you can put emotion in there, but really the whole purpose of the city's design review process and the design review program is really to see, does it fulfill or does it violate certain design standards? And there's so many people that say, well, just think about the car pollution and things like that. And that's really just not part of the design. That's part of maybe a greater discussion on policy. But for this process, it wouldn't affect it either way. So I just want to make sure if people want to express their opinion, that they are focused on what would make the biggest difference.
Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel looked at the trees that they're proposing to knock down, and there was some kind of a proposal to replace these beautiful mature trees with little saplings. And I was trying to think, because my interest in all of this and what I feel most passionate about is the trees. But you know, my whole thing is that we're in an existential crisis with our environment, and that, I mean, it's just unbelievable what that we're having 114-degree heat. People are dying, and they're contemplating knocking down 50 mature trees and replacing just a small percentage with these tiny saplings, they might as well be putting popsicle sticks in the ground for as good as it's going to help the environment. And I really don't know, I want to write something, but I don't want to write something that's just going to be, oh, dismissed, that, you know, like I'm a greenie and I just, you know, I don't have, what I'm saying is not pertinent to the issue. So I don't know what to do.
Well, so sure, we can take this a little offline, but I can summarize this point, which is the project states that since it covers 85% of the buildable area, that it has an exception that allows it to ignore the forestry report that requires saving trees. But you can say essentially that developer can just basically pay money when they knock down a tree, unless it's a heritage tree, and, you know, let it go at that. But, you know, this project contemplates, because it's so huge and covers so much of the property, that everything goes except for the utility poles. And then things get planted with these stick trees. You know, I mean, it's possible that you can make an argument that because so many mature trees are being knocked down in a highly wooded part of the neighborhood, that they would be required to put very mature trees in the ground, you know, like 4 inches in diameter or 6 inches in diameter or something like that, instead of like 2 inches in diameter, just so that they're already further along the growth path. So you can make those sorts of arguments perhaps. One of the other ways that you can get an exception is say that, you know, we went through design review and design review said it's not, you know, it's okay that we can knock down all the trees. So that's why I'm saying, if you haven't, since you're most well situated on the tree issue, you and Daniel, that you should passionately speak about, you know, how important the trees are and how it's a design aspect of the livability of the neighborhood. So I can work with you more on that. Tracy can work with you more on that, but I know we can spend the entire meeting talking about people's comments. So I just want to really focus on.
Sure, of course.
And I promise that I will get to you and to Daniel to make sure that your ideas are properly focused. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Doug?
Well, I read through it cursory, but I did read through it. I very much approve of you going over the line of legalese and saying words like enormous and intimidating and things like that. I think I was really pleased that you went that far and weren't nice about it. And that's what needs to be done to impress these people, wherever they are. And so you got all the details in that I could think of. So I very much like this style and the way it's put together.
Okay. So I take it then, Doug, that you wouldn't change anything in the letter or add anything?
No, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm not going to change the order of sentences and all that stuff. And I have no priorities other than getting those ideas across.
Yeah.
You know, the language is fine with me. I don't,
Okay.
And one thing should point out about the trees is if they do try to transplant mature trees, the root balls are really wide, big. You know, they'll just rebel against that. They won't, there's no way they'll try to do that. And if you ever seen it ever done, it's very fancy. They have a whole machine that does it and everything. So it's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they have an ice cream scooper that just scoops down like an ice cream and just grabs the whole root ball and pulls it up and then put it in the center.
Yeah, it's really neat to watch, but they don't have the room on the property and they want to take it out to the sidewalk. It's just, you know.
All right, well, I just want to open it up to any more comments. Does anybody have any further comments on this? Any changes they'd like to see? If not, we can go ahead and render a motion to approve the letter, and I'll go ahead and take anybody?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the letter that was proposed.
Okay, do we have a second?
I
I'll
second that
second it.
motion.
Okay. All right, we'll give David this one. Sorry, Bridget.
It was a race.
It was a race. All right, I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna stop screen sharing so we can see everybody. All right, so anybody have any objection to sending the letter? Anybody want to abstain from voting? Okay, it's approved unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for writing it.
Yeah, thank you. It's an
Right.
excellent letter, Scott.
And again, I want everybody who's online here, if you do have, please do. You know, this is your right as a neighbor to comment on a very large and influential project in the dead center of our neighborhood. So if you have strong feelings about it, make them known.
Yes, about the block 7, just to clarify what my mother was saying about me. Basically the way I read it is that she's giving them a choice with some of the mature trees, either to save the tree or mitigate them. So saving the tree is actually a thing that we can argue for, and she argues for saving about mature trees on the public street trees on about 3 sides of the block. And then the other, because he feels that those trees are non-nuisance trees. So I feel like also there are about 2 to 4 trees in block 7 that I think we have a case for, that we want to make a case for saving too. So she's not saying that mitigate, that they can cut them down and have the mitigation. She is giving the option of saving the mature trees, particularly on the periphery and some of the oaks too.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, Daniel, I would say go ahead and start writing what your thoughts are. Again, passion is good as well, as long as you stick to kind of how it relates to livability and design and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'll certainly work with you so that we can get your thoughts
Mhm.
Yep, from
out to the planner by, but if they want to run some comments by Jerry Powell or by me or somebody else in the neighborhood, please feel free to do so.
Sure.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
thank you.
All right, let's move to the elections committee. As you know, oh, hey, Sean, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Before we leave block 7, one more thing, I'll put this link in the chat here, but the Friends of Goose Hollow have also put together some guidelines if folks do want to write letters into Ben Nielsen, and definitely want to echo support for doing so. We put some guidelines, we took some of the things that we used to create your letter, Scott, and then also pulled some other ideas from other arguments that we had collected from other submissions previously. So anyway, some guidelines, the links on the site, take advantage of it.
Okay. Hey, Sean, is the letter that I'm going to sign and write, is that something that you want to post on your website?
That would be great. Yeah, when it's ready, that would be fantastic to put that as an example. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be another way to let people know kind of what our position is. I'll post on our website, but it's kind of deep in, lots of different links. It might be hard to find.
Okay.
So I'll
Yeah,
make
that would be great.
send you a copy.
Thanks, Scott. Perfect.
All right. Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll just move on to elections committee. So there's a definitive timeline on how elections occur in the neighborhood according to our bylaws. And which means that we pretty much need to get started right away with an elections committee to kind of decide what different steps need to take. And we're not reinventing the wheel. There are already letters and advertisement copy and things like that that we already have. We just need to kind of rejigger the dates to make sure that we're 30 days before the meeting and 60 days and 90 days, certain things happen. So typically there are 3 people that are on the elections to ensure these things happen. And again, it's not a lot of work. You might field some emails of people that are interested in running, including like a short biography that we'll then post. But almost everything is taken care of in terms of like what different emails will look like going out to the neighborhood, what different letters and notices and things like that. So it's really not a lot of work. The only limitation is that you can't serve on the elections committee if you are running for office. So for instance, Sherry and I have 1-year terms. So even though we were elected last year, that we were up for election this year. I don't know, Sherry, you can give some thought to this, whether you want to run it again, because you certainly can. And Tiffany and let me see here.
I'm a little confused about my status, Scott. You
I
remember
think
how you
I'm up too.
explained
Yeah,
it?
so it's Tiffany, Bridget, Sherry, Eric, and me. And then Marlene is she's not on the board anymore because she resigned. And so the problem is that it would just be a 1-year term remaining, and we're trying to get people a 2-year term if they end up running. But the idea is that there's 5 people up for re-election, or 5 spaces available 1 year, and then 6 spaces available another year. But because of Marlene's resignation, now there's going to be 6, I believe. 1, 2, 3.
And I'm termed out.
Are you,
Yep.
Eric? Okay. So that would mean that there's 6 spots. So I haven't talked to anybody. Normally I would probably call them up and say, hey, would you want to volunteers for this very important but not heavy workload position? And so the people that could be on this committee are Doug, David, Sean, Catherine, Vadim. I'm not seeing everybody jump up and down on this. Do I need to just go
Well,
ahead and assign people?
All volunteer is just, do I have a full term coming, or was I subbing for somebody? I can't, or come. You sent out a letter about that. If I've got,
Yeah, so you're right, Doug. I need to take another look at that letter. So I'm not sure if you're up for, because you were appointed, right? You were appointed to fill a position sometime in 2020 for someone who may have been elected in 2019. So I'll take a look at that. So for now, let's just kind of put you aside just in case you can't serve. And so I'm going to definitely want one of Sean and Catherine to participate. I mean, if both of you were doing it, it would make a meeting very easy because you're in the same household, but I definitely want one of you to be part of it. So do you want to do rock,
Yeah, I think that's probably the only way to settle that, Scott.
paper, scissors to see who loses or wins? They're actually doing it.
They are.
That's the first time I've won a rock, paper, scissors in years.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, then it's your choice of whether the winner is on the committee or the loser is on the committee. Then, as the winner, you get that choice, Sean.
Oh no, we're not going to complicate it, Scott. We already decided what that meant. So, Catherine will be happy to serve this year as in the elections committee.
Yay, Catherine! All right.
That's how the game goes.
She's crying with happiness.
Yeah, I am curious though. Can you, just because I haven't been through this before, can you give me some indication of like what this actually looks like?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, this is not recreating the wheel. Once we get the committee together, I am sending actually, Bridget, you were on last year, weren't you?
Oh, it was a thriller.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, and I don't know anything about bylaws, and I got dinged for not sending notices out early. I still freak out just talking about it. But the good news is we updated ads letting people know to be a little more friendly and inclusive, just to encourage people to come to the meeting. So we can tee that up for you because we have to notify people of the meeting, and we place an ad in in a paper. So the great thing is everything's there. We have a playbook and we can give you all that information and how to respond to folks that are interested, asking for their bio. And I will say, even though I'm kind of jaded, the best part was reading all of your bios and then meeting all of you. It makes it worth it. And we might even be able to do it in person, which will be great. And so you guys aren't alone. We have a playbook and you can fall back on people like Jerry Powell or Scott who know the process and are super gracious about letting you know kind of how it goes. And I've got a bunch of stuff saved from the last election. So you're not having to redo copy or anything at all. So we're definitely here to help you, and we can send you all of that in an email so you can start notifying people in accordance with the bylaws ahead of time. And now that we've been in this pandemic area and we do things digitally, I think there's more of a comfort level with online elections, if we still have to do that. Over and out.
All right. Yeah, we'll definitely make it as easy as possible. We don't want you to, feel like it's a hassle or a struggle or anything. This should be easy. Just because I don't know if Doug is, because of when he was appointed, is up for re-election again. Maybe if I can ask David and Vadim, just because I know the two of you are available, would it be possible for you two to also serve on the committee?
I'd be glad to serve on the committee. Since Catherine hasn't had experience with this before, nor have I, it'd be nice if one person had done this at least once before. I don't know. But anyway, I'd be glad to serve on the committee.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be happy to serve, not knowing anything about the committee also.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, either Bridget or I will show up to the first meeting and talk you through just to make sure that everything is on the level. So let's just go ahead and it'll be Catherine, as the op, and Vadim and David as the committee members. All right, thank you, everybody. Next is Goose Hollow Picnic. So I've been in communication with the Timbers and Providence Park to figure out if they can host us again. And they've given us a proposed date along with a menu of August 29th. And so before the invitation is hanging out there, I haven't said yes or no to them yet. And so I wanted to get people's thoughts or feelings or just thumbs up, go ahead to move forward with a public event so that we can meet in person at Providence Park and have them host us on August 29th.
Scott, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do it.
So I'm not saying that this is a possibility, and Eric might have a view on this. It's someone who says, hey, if we have a picnic and the Timbers are hosting us, then I don't think that's the case, because I think they really want to engage with the neighborhood in a different way, and Goose Hollow Days allows them to do that. But it's possible someone could make that argument. And that's why I did not just go off and accept it on my own. But I wanted to bring this to the board so that we can discuss it if necessary. I mean, it's probably not very controversial because they're willing to host us for free and give us food and drinks and stuff like that. And it would be great to see each other in person. But I just wanted to ask people if there's any issues that you might foresee. Bridget?
I don't have any issues, but I do have a question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
That leads to something I want to throw out there, if not for this, maybe for Goose Hollow Days. Do you know if pets are allowed? Because I know they have like a bark in the park event, and I can leave my dog at home, but I didn't know if I could bring my dog.
Oh, that's a great question. So I'll ask that because I don't have the answer.
I'm sorry to, but if I can bring him, any opportunity to bring him, I'm going to take it. But I know there's issues with that. But for Goose Hollow Days, I also just along the lines of pets. I don't know if we have like stations around the neighborhood for dog pickup, but I have a friend who's a photographer and she worked with the Pearl Neighborhood Association. And she actually did pet portraits for like super cheap in the Fields Park. And all kinds of people came and had the portraits taken of their pets, and all of the proceeds, she didn't keep a cent, went to like dog pickup stations for their neighborhood association. And she and I know each other, and I talked about how cool that was, and she offered to do it for us if we're ever interested.
Friday.
So I just want to throw that out there. I mean, we'd have to let her know in advance, but she'd be happy to set up a photo booth and take
This
pictures.
is not related to Goose Holidays at all. This is this is Providence Park.
Wait,
Yeah.
Sherry, are you talking to us or are you talking to
So
Steve?
yeah, I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I meant to put that on mute. Steve was trying to talk to me about the Heritage Tree Tour and when to do that. And I thought that we were going to do Goose Holidays, and that what I've been doing is that I have Martin Nicholson do the Heritage Tree on Friday. Saturday we do Goose Holidays, and Tracy does the thing on Sunday with the history.
Right, yes. Yeah, I would hope that we would continue to do that because those are, a really neat part of the event.
Yes, I just and all, these walks are just wonderful, and he does different trees every time.
Right.
We have so many trees.
Well, we'll have a report from the Goose Holidays committee, which might not be much other than they have the committee and they've talked about it, but it's definitely going to be an ongoing discussion if we have the event of what halo events we're going to have around that date as well.
Mm-hmm.
For now, does anybody have any other comments on accepting the timbers?
Well, yeah, I just want to say I did 2 of the picnics. One of them, when, as you had mentioned, where it was just the neighborhood and it was held in the plaza area, we wound up getting about 75 people and signed up, I think, 30 or 35 new members. And it really gave an opportunity not only for board members, but for neighbors to get to know neighbors. The other time that we did it, it was during a Timbers game, not Timbers, but one of their subgroups. And they just put us kind of downstairs in a little section. It was all right, but there was very little communicating among the Goose Hollow residents that were there. So if this is going to be just Goose Hollow on their plaza level, I think it's a real positive thing.
Eric, I believe that's exactly what it is. So, yes, I don't think it's associated with any event going on in the stadium, so it'll just be us.
And I was going to ask Eric, what time of day was that most successful picnic that you mentioned?
Well, as I say, it was held probably around the same time. One of the events, I can't remember which one, there was a light rain for about 25 minutes, but it was usually held, I think, from like 1 to 4. Again, this is not on a game day. And people come in through one of the entrances. They have to show that they're a resident of Goose Hollow. And there's several people from our board there to greet them. And then if they're interested later on, they can sign up for membership because we'll have the membership forms with us.
Thank you.
So we have a proposal for the Goose Hollow picnic of being between 3 and 6. And I don't know if people have a preference of 1-4, but they've just, I don't know why they proposed 3 to 6, but that essentially would be kind of the proposed time for the picnic. Does anybody have any problems with the time proposed, the date proposed, or whether we accept it or not?
It sounds great to me.
Okay.
It sounds wonderful. Scott, I just want to bring to your attention, somebody, I think her name is Dee, has been writing in the chat, and she's her first time here, and I want her to not be offended, but she's really concerned about a dog. She's has a clinical phobia of dogs, and she has an intense opinion about it. And there was some chat back and forth, and I don't want to lose this woman. I want her to come back. Can you hear me, Dee? Can you hear me?
We certainly want people to feel
I can
welcome.
hear you, but what I'm reading in the chat is people making fun of my very real phobia, And I don't like, we're all supposed to be neighbors, and that's not very neighborly. And if dogs are gonna come, I was looking
But
for.
you know what? It's also not neighborly when I've been living by myself and my dog's been my best friend to be told that you don't even want to see them and that we have to alter our event around that. So I want to be respectful, but at the same time, it's also offensive to me. So I'm sorry the joke upset you, but it upset me to hear you say right off the bat, you don't even want to entertain having pets around.
I can't entertain it. I am totally phobic. I would not enjoy it. I would be so stressed that there's no point in going. One of my very.
Hi, this is Tiffany, and I'm the head of the safety and livability. Hi, Dee. I don't think I've ever personally met you, but I definitely would like to meet you in person. I have an idea. I hear your phobia. I was a former mental health nurse, and I deal with trauma. And what I'm thinking we could probably do, because the Goose Hollow community is full of many people and pets, and this is a community, it's a community festival, street festival, and so you're gonna see pets. So what I was thinking is maybe you could offline work with us to, maybe we can craft a way to have a booth is designated for the pet area on the far end, or so you know in advance where that area is so you can avoid it and we could accommodate you. Is that something we could talk about offline?
It's very possible. And we have communicated online before. You sent me some emails and we've talked on Nextdoor.
Great. And I appreciate you. So I think I remember now. You're rejogging my memory, but let's, you've got my email. It's livability@goosehollow.org. I would love to talk further about that. I do appreciate, these are the things in our community that we have to listen to these concerns and we'll do our best. But I think in your case, knowing in advance of what our street festival will be a part of and what will entail it'll ease your stress levels too, because, and then we all do know in Goose Hollow, you see a lot of, on my street alone, there's a lot of dogs out there.
Yes, there are. And when I'm out there picking up trash, I do keep a good distance from them.
Exactly. So this will be just like the same thing. This is another street festival, but you'll see where our booths will be laid out once we start getting further on the community.
Are you talking about the picnic at PGE Park or the?
Sorry,
Well,
both of them.
This discussion started when somebody wanted to bring their dog to the picnic and somebody said, we'll have to check with the people at the park about it. And that's when I said, hey, count me out if there's going to be dogs. I just can't be around them. I'm sorry if that offends you, Bridget, but you know, I mean.
Let me just interject again. I was involved in both the picnics, and at neither of those events were dogs allowed. So whether Providence Park has their dog day, you know, when they have a game, I don't know if that's really relevant. This is the first time that would be coming up.
Okay.
Well, as long as I know about it ahead of time, I can make my own
Well,
decision.
you know what? I'm just going to leave him at home in his cage, so we don't have to worry about it.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we're okay to move forward with a Goose Hollow picnic on August 29th. Is that kind of, am I summarizing correctly? And I'm sorry, Melanie, I don't think Phil's Meats is going to be catering it. I think you're just going to have to deal with ballpark hot dogs and hamburgers and soft drinks and stuff like that. You know, we can't all be.
They do provide beer as well.
I'll try my best, Eric.
Here's a question. Daniel's vegetarian. Will there be a vegetarian option?
Yeah, they had a lot of trouble with previous meetings, not having vegetarian and not vegetarian.
Okay, well, then maybe we'll just bring our own food and show up.
Okay.
Okay, if they don't have it.
No, they'll have like pickles that you can put on your hamburger. They'll have pickles, and they'll have crackers.
Yeah.
They'll
Okay.
probably have hamburgers that aren't real hamburgers.
We'll,
Yeah,
we'll,
like
Yeah,
John
right.
Burgers. Yeah,
Sherry,
they have-
Sherry, we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
I'll in fact, if you want me to take a look at what the menu is,
That would be interesting. Yes, thank you.
then I can just share the page very briefly for people.
Thank you. That's
so that we
very
don't
nice.
get- here we go.
Okay. It's hard for me to tell There's like a hot dog. I don't know
I mean,
what
there's,
dinner
there's
hot dog.
potato salad and watermelon. But as far as like vegetarian, non-meat
Okay, well,
That's fine.
you know, whatever it is.
options, I'm not sure,
generally-
but we can ask.
Yeah, so it would be
Okay.
nice if they could have some kind of a meat substitute for all the vegetarians, not just Daniel, but if they can't, I mean, look, it's a gift. We'll just bring Daniel's picnic food and then he can have all the sides and we'll bring his main course if that can be done.
Well, my understanding is that the very lowest quality hot dogs have no actual meat in them, so it's
Oh,
possible.
really?
Well, I'm kind of joking, how they,
Gosh, I took you seriously. I'm so sorry.
they put like sawdust and other things. I'm glad that Daniel brought that up because I wouldn't have thought of it because I come from a part of the country where, the cow is king. So I'm going to ask them if they have a non-meat option and see if we can add that. Does anybody have any other comments?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It helps fight climate change.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
Bill
true,
Gates is
yeah.
big on these alternative proteins for global warming purposes.
It sounds like a unanimous approval to move forward with August 29th, 3 to 6 p.m. as being the date. We'll ask for a vegetarian option and I'll see if we can get us alcohol as well, Eric.
That would be nice, but in the past, they did have beer,
Oh,
so,
no, I get it, right? We had tickets, right? Did we have
right,
tickets?
they gave us a certain amount. We would give one to anyone who was over 21, and then if they wanted a second beer, they'd have to come back to see if we had enough, and in both instances, we did.
Yeah. Okay. All right, good. All right, thank you, everybody. Moving on, let's go ahead and go with the committee reports. So public safety, Tiffany. And Vadim, if you want to jump in as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Tiffany Hammer, Co-Public Safety Chair, along with my partner, Vadim Mazursky. And Vadim, would you like me to start off with this, or would you like to start?
I'm pulling up the email and take me just a second.
Okay, how about I start and then I point at you? Sound good? Sorry, I'm having computer issues, so if you see me holding a phone, that's why. I don't know what happened tonight. Anyway, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the July summary of our public safety. This month's public safety was a joint effort with our 6 neighborhoods of downtown, where we covered safety and livability issues back on July 7th, and guest speakers were Mark Wells and Commissioner Mingus Maps. And I was not present during this meeting because I finally took a vacation, a much needed vacation. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the baton over to Vadim to tell you a little bit about what was covered in that meeting, and then he'll swing back to me to talk to you a little bit about our livability and safety issues of the neighborhood. Oh, did I lose you, Vadim?
No, just pulling up the. Yeah, we had Mark Wells. He was talking about the negotiations for Clean and Safe. They've been ongoing for several months. As you know, Clean and Safe is instrumental in helping the downtown, Old Town area stay clean, and also some of the collateral issues involved there. That's going to come up to a vote, City Council coming up. And there's some pushback against Clean and Safe. Some public interest groups are saying that the contract should not be renewed by the city. And so there's going to be some listening sessions available for the public. The next one that's available for non-ratepayers is going to be on July 27th. There's going to be 2 meetings wherein the public can give their thoughts on that. One is mid-afternoon and one is later in the afternoon. I don't have those times before me, but if you do need those times and wish to speak about Clean and Safe at a forum, I can provide those for you. There was a discussion about graffiti, and it was noted that graffiti is, of course, everywhere nowadays. Mark said that the graffiti is responsible, that individuals as well as riders are responsible for the graffiti. Tagging has become a major thing. The mayor and city council have put quite a bit of money into graffiti abatement, and there'll be more support coming down the road to clean up the graffiti. As part of it, of course, as a side note, is that it is both a city, county, and a state issue because of the way that the graffiti cleanup kind of works, depending on who owns the property. Clean and Safe works with Central City Concern for cleanup efforts, as well as with Hucker. So they rate campsites based on a scale of 1 to 100. Anything below 70 does not get moved. Anything above 70 will result in first outreach to connect people with services, take the trash away and things like that. And then if all else fails, then there will be a cleanup effort and then a possible move. Mingus Maps was available at this meeting as well. You might have heard this in the news. He was quoted as saying that the city has hit bottom as far as COVID, but we are digging our way out. He also noted that 1.3 million has been allocated for graffiti cleanup efforts, substantially higher than in previous years. And we should see continued progress and acceleration of that over the summer. By fall, he hopes that the city will be able to respond to tagged buildings within 3 days. Good luck with that. Council has devoted enormous amounts of money to cleaning up trash, and they're working with Solve to clean up every corner of the city. Homelessness, of course, is the major topic that everybody is talking about. And again, Mingus said that we are turning the corner. We lost half the shelter space due to COVID, but those spaces are coming back online. And of course, there are several new houseless initiatives. They're also making important headway on crime. And council has made new investments in crime prevention. I think we discussed this before, but they've allocated $4 million to community organizations that specifically help youth or other vulnerable populations that may contribute to crime down the road to stave off criminal activity in the years to come. They also hired a bunch of park rangers who will do all they can to fight crime as well. And they created a new, you did say they created a new police unit that is focused on gun crimes. Likewise, we've talked about this before, the city is on course right now to have the highest level of murders probably in the history of Portland. We're looking at almost 100 murders over a 12-month period. Over the last 6 months, there have been about 50 some odd murders, and much of those are come from gun crimes. And so the city is focused on that and is working with district attorney to follow up on that. Although to add some context to that, the city did ask police officers to volunteer for a new gun reduction task force sort of initiative. Not many police officers have volunteered for that. In the past, those type of initiatives, Commissioner Hardesty has said that they gave disparate treatment to Black individuals in Portland, and so they were disbanded. And there's a reticence on the part of police in the context of the current social circumstances to volunteer for those type of units. They've also created a new board to oversee that unit if it ever does get created, of community members who were chosen by various city council members. I think that board has been announced. They might have met one time, but so far they don't really have anything to do until this police unit gets up to speed. So that's about it. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. We did have a follow-up conversation with Mingus Maps where we talked about such things as body cameras. There's some headway made about body cameras for our police officers. We're the only city in the top 75 largest cities in the country that do not have body cameras. And there's been a large pushback on that from certain people, but it looks like that will go through. I just got off a call with the Justice Department, and that's their #1 request right now, is that the police force in Portland get body cameras, and they're willing to go to court over this if they do not. So whether the city council themselves institutes that or federal court, that looks like it's coming our way. And the rest of it is pretty much as discussed. So kind of getting into more details about all that. So that's it. That's my update.
Thank you, Vadim.
Tiffany Hammer here to kind of finish up the summary of that. Thank you, Vadim. Isn't he wonderful? He's everywhere. And we make a great partnership. Here's the last little bits of information for Goose Hollow, specifically in our neighborhood and our boundary lines. The last tent count was May 20th at 118 houseless individuals. Our numbers are going up, and as of this week, I have asked someone who is formerly unsheltered to go ahead and do the tent counts out there for us, and I'd like to use the bottle drop money to pay them back to do the tent counts. I'm so busy right now in the month of July. I hope that's all right with all of you, but the tent numbers will come back to us, and I'll share that with the board. But as presently right now, the concerns of the neighborhood, there's no homicides or large scale violence in our neighborhood, but what we're experiencing are definitely just as important livability concerns with car vandalism, catalytic converter theft, property theft, and all of that. And we are experiencing, I'd like to separate out unsheltered folks with criminality. We have a huge criminality issue, drug problem over by 13th and Montgomery, which the Central Precinct is well aware of. And the organized bike chop shop, and I'm not going to go into specifics about it, has only expanded in size. That is definitely on the radar, and this is of our concern in our neighborhood because people are being victimized over there as well as the criminality piece. So we continue keeping that on our radar. Another concern of the neighborhood, and all of you know, is yesterday we experienced our third major fire for Goose Hollow, and it was at 5:30 in the morning. I sent you all the video and the pictures. This fire was absolutely large and full scale, 3-alarm in Gander Ridge next to our homes. And we are in a burn ban right now. So this should be on everybody's alert that out of control fires are definitely very important to pay attention to. And so I reached out to the Fire Bureau to see what their plans are and interventions, because this is unacceptable. And then if any of you were a part of the last livability safety meeting, joined of all the 6 neighborhoods of downtown, the #1 concern was fire dangers, because we're seeing an uptick of unsheltered camping fires. And when I asked the unsheltered folks that were fleeing this fire burnt out area yesterday what happened, they reported that there was an increased level of violence the night before that led up to the events of the fire taking place, and they had to leave due to violent concerns. So I brought this up with the county today, and I sent out emails about this. So if we continue to have violence in unsheltered camp areas where it results in retaliatory fires, we need to address these issues with our respective city and county officials. So I hope to get a call back from the Fire Bureau to let you all know. But in that fire damage, if you walk by, you see mass vegetation and trees were burnt down. And so again, Sherry, if we care about our trees, we're continue to lose trees because of fire dangers. And so and this kind of segues into, I've heard that we may experience another heat wave. And if we do, today I went down to the joint office county and I picked out our outreach materials for our Goose Hollow and sheltered folks. That includes many, many bottles of water, because what we learned was from the last heat wave, I don't know if you saw, but at least our house Senate Lisa Reynolds featured a story on myself as well, because I spearhead the Oasis project out of Old Town. What we saw as the city and the county, it was hard. It was really hard with the heat wave to get to all the unsheltered people. And you see in Goose Hollow, all those people out there hunkered on the sidewalks and tents. They weren't able to for many reasons, get to a cooling center. And so, yes, bottled water is very important for these people, but what we need to do is get them safely relocated off the street, because we saw how many people died due to exposure. And so we need to have better planning. And so I reached out to our Goose Hollow emergency rep, which is Bill Risley. He's not on the call tonight, but he is our net appointed emergency responder. And I said, as a net team responder for Goose Hollow, what are we doing for these kind of situations? Because this is new to us in Goose Hollow. And he said, yes, this is one of the concerns they were talking about. He's going to get us talking points. See, once again, we're behind. We're always trailing behind the crisis. Can we just label 2021 as a serious crisis of many issues? Anyway, they're going to get back to us on how the emergency responders for Portland need to respond to these kind of things. And then Bill Risley told me that he moved out of the Goose Hollow neighborhood for unspecified reasons, but he's now looking to have a replacement in the Goose Hollow neighborhood for emergency net. So if you guys know of anybody that would like to be our net responder, that's for earthquake prevention and obviously these other unforeseen issues that we're seeing, please reach out to me, livability@goosehollow.org. I loved Bill. He's great. He's been attending many of our meetings for many years, but we need to find someone to step up for that. And then so offline, reach out to me. And then our next safety livability group joined meeting. That's where we all come together to talk about our livability concerns of the neighborhood. Will be August 4th. That's a Wednesday. And I asked the other respective 6 neighborhoods of downtown, that includes Pearl District, Old Town, Chinatown, Downtown, Northwest District, and Goose Hollow. I said, should we continue a little bit further with this joint safety livability meetings? And they loved the idea. So I hope y'all are okay with us. We were talking about just going for about 8 weeks, but maybe we're proposing to go another joined response, because we're all sharing similar issues in downtown, livability safety issues. If we go another month or two, maybe August or September, because we realized once we got all of the neighborhoods in the room to address our safety issues, we all had the same problem and we're better suited to work together, not in siloed efforts. So reach out to me offline if you don't think this is a wise move, but if you do, please join us August 4th, because we may have Commissioner Dan Ryan to talk a little bit more about our the 6 sanction camps that have been approved. And this is definitely in Goose Hollow's wheelhouse, because we're in crisis right now. We've got a lot of people hunkered on those streets out there, and we have to safely advocate for them to go somewhere else that's safer, because as you can see, the vegetation, building a home inside a hillside with vegetation is probably not safe right now. And also they need to have access to resources like a toilet, a shower, maybe the other elements like cold, because as you know, back in February we hit that winter storm and we were back out there. I was out there with Street Roots trying to get these people into a warming shelter, and now we're into a cooling shelter. So we're recognizing that the street is not safe. And then second, we're dealing with another issue too is, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes right now. The next neighborhood trash cleanup solve event is July 21st. I was disappointed last month, because for the last year, we have been trashed out in Goose Hollow, and Solve has been fantastic. They've been coming monthly to us and helping us clean up with volunteers our area. And that's how we sustain our area. And last month we got skipped over for the first time because of lack of resources, what have you. But Solve promised me they would come back to the Goose Hollow neighborhood, because I sounded the alarm and I said, we cannot go a month without Solve volunteers out there doing the great work out there, because we just have a lot of trash, because unsheltered camping generates a lot of trash. Sadly, that's how it goes. It's a lack of access to a trash can. And so we have to keep the area cleaned up for everybody in the community. And so they promised me, and then they said that the location would be in Goose Hollow, but it's Plaid Pantry. And we all know Plaid Pantry is just not quite Goose Hollow, but it's close enough. but I encourage you all to join me July 21st to go over to Goose Hollow and then drop the trash back off. Reach out to me offline. And I want to give a special shout out to our adopt-a-blockers out there too, because, you know, picking up a little bounce of trash matters as well, and Solve does the bigger loads. And I want to thank anybody at this time, because it takes a village, as we know. So last, I want to bring out a last awareness of sometimes we get siloed in our communities, you know, Goose Hollow, right? Yeah, we're not experiencing what the rest of Portland is, but I want to bring awareness right now. We have extreme levels of homicide and gun violence right now, retaliatory gun violence on the streets. And I want to make sure I put in the chat, KGW did a 1-hour investigative story. I thought they did a great, fantastic job on gun violence and how it traumatizes our Portland communities and what we can do about it. And I encourage all of you to watch that and watch it twice and understand what other neighborhoods in Portland are experiencing right now. Because if we don't recognize that there's retaliatory gun violence out there, then we're not helping the rest of Portland, you know, just because it's not in our backyard. Retaliatory violence actually we see it in downtown. It sporadically hits downtown, and in Old Town Chinatown just 2 weeks ago, someone did a drive-by and unloaded guns on Old Town twice. So that's pretty close to all of us in Goose Hollow. So the fact that we need to recognize our respective neighbors as well. And so please reach out, watch that video. And then in closing, I think that's it. If you have any questions about safety and livability, reach out to me. Thank you for everyone.
Here's a question I want to say, Tiffany. I never got the photo with the fire. Did you send it to the whole board? I'm not getting emails. How do I get my emails? I mean, Steve has been forwarded the link today for today's hearing, and I didn't get Tiffany's thing. Who do I go to get this taken care of?
Scott, are you able to answer that question? Because I sent it to the board, and if she's not getting emails from the board, I just don't know how to get around that. And I think I remember her addressing this last month's meeting as well. She's not getting some of the meeting emails.
Yeah, so my suggestion, Sherry, is let's meet up. Maybe I can come to your apartment or something like that. We can log on your account, because I know you have a Gmail account. You are on the list, and it's possible that you have some filters on there which keep those emails from going.
Do you send it to Gmail? Because I don't use. I think I've got it.
Spam or something like.
Yeah, but I use Comcast.net, not Gmail.
Comcast.net. Let me see here. Okay.
I'm sorry to take up everybody's time, but it's Sherry Salomon at Comcast.net.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, my mistake, Sherry. Yes, that's the default that's coming out. So, you know, take everything that I said and switch it to Comcast.net. So we'll look at your Comcast.net account and see if there's some settings. So I'll work with you to try to figure that out.
That's wonderful. And then there's something I wanted to say to Tiffany. I read in the Oregonian about these 6 pods, about that they're going to offer these different pods for people. But one of the things that bothered me in the article in the Oregonian is that they're going to encourage people, but not require people to join one of those pods. And that's disturbing to me, because my feeling is, and I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. There was a movie years ago called Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And that's my great fear, that you're going to have people staying where they are, whether they're in downtown or whatever, where they are, and some poor immigrant that's trying to make a living with their business, and they're sleeping on their doorstep and, you know, making a mess and everything else. And if they don't want to go to the pod, I mean, what is wrong with just saying, okay, these are your options. You have one of 6 options. You can choose this, but you can't, you can't sit in front of Mr. and Mrs. Jones convenience store because you're driving them out of business. I mean, Am I the only one who feels this way?
So Sherry, you know what? You hit my heart, like right to my heart. For all of you who know me, you know I have a small business in Old Town Chinatown, and actually I can touch the Greyhound facility, which is the shelter site for Portland, and it's never, it rarely gets up to capacity. And this is, I always sound the alarm that we have a true problem on our hands, that we don't support people to get in there. Does that make sense? You can encourage people, but the problem is people won't go in. And so if you're not at 100% capacity and you have people hunkered outside the door, there's a problem there. And I do agree that the sanction camps may fall in the same role as that issue. Is we have to figure out a what I call it a compassionate response. That is, I'm gonna give you a notice that you need to go into one of these safe sleeping zones, sanctioned areas, or a shelter, or a motel, or a place to go, or one of our nonprofits that offer great services to you. Because with COVID, many people are able to go inside the doors to more of our churches and our nonprofits, but we have to have a more forceful hand. So I was very, very heartbroken when I saw that. And that's something I would like to bring up to Commissioner Dan Ryan at the next safety livability meeting. So yes, your feelings are right on, and I'm feeling it right now. And then second,
Tiffany, you've been talking and talking, okay?
thank you.
Sherry, I've made my point of view clear. There's such a thing as called law enforcement, and I do not have ever believed that most of the people coming into town are eligible for settlement. They're not here because they're homeless. They're here because they want to come and camp. And there's a agenda running underneath the current of the issues from the Oregonian through the commissioner's offices. And it's going to take a long time, not a long time. Commissioner Mapp said a year and a half, but eventually people are going to start saying that's enough is enough. And it doesn't matter what the judge says, because apparently he's part of that agenda. And eventually people are going to get really pissed off, and people are going to get unelected very quickly. And I disengaged myself from the meeting that Vadim and that they were there. I listened to some of it because I was getting a little angry. There's people involved who have not been elected to be responsible, and nobody said they could make their own criteria and then slip it through. They found out with the parks election how negative people are, and that was part of what they were trying to get through, and they were shocked when it happened. And the people in Willamette Week and various other people, it's just not going to fly. If 75% of the people don't want the campers, and most of them, because I have been down there and I have observed, are not from Portland, and so many of them will move out. In San Francisco, they move them out. They say, you go here, or you go to jail, or you leave. That's how far it's gone. They've been far ahead of us by almost 5-10 years. So hold on to your horses and hold on to your anger, but eventually they're going to have to figure it out.
Well, it's not so much that I'm angry. I'm just frustrated.
You have a right to be angry. You have a right to be angry. The law says they're not supposed to camp on the sidewalks or on the side of the highway.
And I would say not even the anger part, but channel it. Let Dan Ryan, let our commissioners know. I put Dan Ryan's direct email. He's got one where it's like an office email. That's his direct email. Let him know your thoughts. Right now, that's what y'all are discussing here is the number one topic, I think, that is going to be of concern in any neighborhood in central Portland. There's so much money being poured into this. About $120 million this year, maybe $250 million next year from the homeless tax, plus all the money the city's already spending, plus all the money that's being given to the various nonprofits serving the industry for 4,000 to 5,000 homeless people. It is well more than enough to put everybody in their own apartment and provide services at this point in time. But no one has been able to say what they're going to do if people refuse to move. And they're all sidestepping that question. And that's the number one thing, because you look at what happened in Laurelhurst Park, you look at what happened in Sunnyside, and a very small portion actually volunteer to go to shelter space. Most do not. I'm hoping that at some point in time, people listen and make a plan for what happens. But I have not heard one. And that's the question I keep asking everybody when this conversation comes up, whether it's Dan Ryan or Mingus or Ted Wheeler, whomever I'm able to like have an ear for a little bit. What's the plan? And they just say that it's going to get fixed. So I think that's a very important point everybody's making.
Well, you know, I feel kind of embarrassed talking about it. And the reason is because when I have voiced my feelings at public meetings, I'm treated like I'm some kind of a capitalist pig, you know, like I'm some kind of, that I'm you know, I mean, I am a Bernie Sanders supporter. My husband and I have never voted for Republican in our entire lives. I mean, we are not, we are on the side of the downtrodden, but this is ridiculous. This is the, you know, a lot of these people, when I said Mr. and Mrs. Jones in the convenience store, I'm thinking about all of these people that have little carts. You know, they're immigrant people. They're not. We're not talking about multinational corporations or even like the Apple, which is down. We're talking about people that, you know, are just really on the margins, and they're being driven out of business. And their little businesses is what makes Portland cool. People. What it brings the tourists. You know,
So-
people want.
And Cher,
Anyway.
I understand the business stuff, and that's definitely an aspect of it. But what I also point out to people is last year, 100 people died on the streets. Actually, the year before, during COVID, we don't have the figures yet, but 100 people died on the streets from half of them from overdoses, the other half from other reasons. Last month, 4 people died in homeless shelters from violence, from being shot and killed. People are dying because they're allowed to live on the streets the way that they are. If we don't have enough shelter space, maybe that's understandable, but we will have the shelter space. We will have the housing. How do we connect those people? That's the question.
So in closing, I would like to bring also awareness that Neighbors West Northwest put out an email inviting all of us to join Monday, July 26th from 5:30 to 6:30. You need to register. It's called Neighbors Helping the Unhoused, and it's led by Darlene over Urban Garrett out of Downtown Neighborhood Association. She does the homeless outreach for the boundary lines for Downtown Neighborhood Association. And so if you all want to learn a little bit more about what they're doing to reach out to their unsheltered neighbors, great. And also I do a lot of outreach for Goose Hollow. So I talk to our unsheltered folks out there, and a lot of the folks that are on the Highway 26 405 corridor, they're not from here. And I talk to them a lot about how we can get them safely relocated back to their respective areas. So it is real. We have a lot of people that show up here, and they do come off the Max line from Hillsborough as well. There's a reality check too. But the thing is, it's summer months and we're getting a lot of extra people here. So that's increasing our tent count. So if you want to learn more about what you can do and see what our 6 neighborhoods are doing, I'd say register for this. Do I need to put this in the link? Should I send this in the link? I think I will, just in case for anybody who wants to continue this conversation, because Scott, I bet you want to go further on the agenda tonight, right?
As long as we finish by this evening, yeah.
Okay, great. I'll put this in the chat for all of you because we could talk for hours on this subject alone. All right. Thank you.
Can I
Thank
make
you
one more
very much.
comment before we leave the subject entirely? And it's not on relocating or anything like that. It's something that's a little bit more immediate with regard to the encampment. I have 2 houses that are nearby on Montgomery, and they were both threatened in the last year by fires in which the tenants had to call 911. So that's one of my primary concerns. And I've seen, we're coming into summer now. We're in fire season already, obviously, and it's going to get worse. And I've seen a lot of encampment fires. I've probably seen 10 encampment fires. And the ones that are one tent, they're gone. It's over in like 5 minutes. The ones that are from accumulated over a year's worth of tarps and furniture and all, they burn for a long time. They're very, very different in terms of their potential danger and the ability to light all the trees on fire, etc. So it seems to me that it would be reasonable to have one of, at least during the summertime, one of the criteria for camp size is, I mean, one of the criteria for removing or doing something about a camp is not having a lot of combustible material on the site, having the camp be of reasonable size when there are trees around, et cetera. And that's just my immediate experience.
Hey, David, you and I share this safety concern, and I would love to pull you in on our conversations because our both respective homes and properties are right there. And this is very concerning. And they're also using the vegetation to burn as well. I was talking to the county today. You wouldn't believe this. There's a tent shortage they're giving out. There's not enough tents because of the tents are catching on fire so much. And I said, what are we going to do? Start handing out fire extinguishers in Goose Hollow? Because that's one of the literally hotspot areas where the retaliatory fire occurs. Someone burns someone else's tent down. And after yesterday's 5:30 3-alarm fire that you and I experienced at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I got stopped in the road for a 1 o'clock homeless tent and fire that had to have 2 fire trucks. And then this afternoon, I was in Old Town, Chinatown, someone burnt someone else's tent. And it was just one tent, thankfully, but they don't have the trees that we do. So my biggest concern for Goose Hollow is we have vegetation can catch on fire quickly. And the structures that are built up in Gander Ridge right there, the tents are actually building themselves in the trees and using plywood and tarps. And that to me is very dangerous. Using the environment for a home. So we should offline work with our elected officials to figure out what kind of plan they plan to do. I sent the letter to Huckup and I said, what are we doing? I showed them the video and I said, this is our concern. And of course they never respond back. And so my concern is they're going to continue to allow us to be victimized by large level fires. And they're not addressing the needs of the unsheltered people too, because they could die in the fire as well. And that's the number one question I asked when I saw the people fleeing from that fire was, did anybody get killed? Because it was so large. And can anybody on this call, did you see the fire video? Did you witness the fire? Did you smell the fire?
I heard it, and I've lived in some pretty underdeveloped, dangerous neighborhoods like the Middle East and South America. And to hear my building shake in the United States like that was shocking. And I don't know if anyone follows Instagram, Portland Looks Like Shit. It's a bad name for the feed, but our neighborhood's there all the time. So I saw the fire from all kinds of angles. And again, the name is unpleasant, but in some ways I go to that site and within an hour or less, they're uploading footage of the fire in the video, and Goose Hollow has been featured twice today already for other incidents with homeless people.
What site is this, please? I didn't hear you.
I'll send it to you in a direct message.
Okay, thank you. I didn't.
Tiffany, I smelled the smoke, but I even saw a fire directly about 10th and Jefferson, that block of Safeway, a big tent go up right on the sidewalk. It was a big black hole when they got done. And then over to the north near I-405, there's about 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of fires. Yeah.
All right.
I'm done.
I think we could discuss this to death. It's obvious that we live in a war zone and there's a lot of work left to do and we're not going to fix it tonight, but it's good to share information. I can tell you that the fire shocked me. And the picture is one thing, but when someone was driving by there and you could hear the crackling from the car in the video, that was really something else. So it's kind of shocking. All right. I would like to move to Goose Hollow Day. Sean, I saw that you had sent an email with a planned Zoom conference. I will send out a notice to the neighborhood with that information so that they can join if they would like to. But is there anything that you would like to announce?
No major announcements. First meeting of the planning committee this weekend. So we'll obviously be discussing some timelines, plans for sponsorships, partnerships, pulling a lot of what we did that was successful last year. So yeah, we look to share more with the plans as soon as we finish this Sunday's meeting.
Great, but the idea is that there's a great likelihood that it will happen this year.
There, yes, I think there's a likelihood that it'll happen this year. Yes.
Okay.
That's the
I
plan.
have a question. This is pertaining to Goose Holidays. I don't know whether we're going to be meeting in August. So when will the board be approving going forward with Goose Holidays? That's a question.
Is there another round of approvals? I thought the approval from the committee first was the approval.
No, it was to come back to the board with either specific dates or what it was going to be entailed. And then the board would be voting to say, yes, go ahead with it or not.
Well, if that's what we need to do in order to vote it through, Sean, is there, do you figure when we might have or what's your timeline for deciding on a date?
Then I think we'll need to have a timeline. I mean, I think we'll need to decide on a date between now and August. So Eric, we may need to hold a impromptu meeting to discuss this specifically as a board, or do some kind of asynchronous voting.
Well, you could call an executive meeting with, I believe it's 48 hours notice. If we decide, or if we're going to be meeting in August, it could be brought up then. But in the past, 2 out of the 3 Goose Holidays were done in September because the weather is nicer. And when we had the third one, we kind of lucked out when it was going to be done in October.
Yeah.
I don't think a September date for Goose Hollow is likely. I mean, there's a number of holidays in September. It's also, you know, that was last year our smokiest month. I think there's going to be some good reason for us to look in, say, early to mid-October for Goose Holidays.
I just want to jump in and say, actually, Eric, I think that when the committee was established, that the board decided that it would give the committee the option to make those decisions, because I only remember that because I asked about that and I refrained from.
I remember you asked about it, and the motion, which is in the minutes, was that the committee would come back to report to the board for final approval. Now, if you want to put forward a motion to go forward with Goose Hollow Days now with an open-ended date, that's your prerogative. But that's the way that last motion read.
Hey, Scott, do you
Yeah.
have, I'm having computer issue. Oh, we're finally back up on again. I'm having computer issues. Could you bring up our minutes and read that motion for everybody, just for clarification? I
So
can't.
So the motion is moved by Bridget, seconded by Tiffany, to form a Goose Hollow Days exploratory committee chaired by Sean $100. It was approved unanimously.
So does that mean that you're allowed to, I'm confused. So is Eric right, or do we need to do something else?
Well, so the minutes also say a motion was made to hold the Goose Holiday Street Festival for 2021 in late summer, early fall, based on recommendation of the committee. So I think that's pretty clear that the committee that we've given committee exec to hold a Goose Holidays, just based on the wording of the minutes that we have.
I'm sorry, I disagree. It was exploratory committee, and I believe it also said in the motion that they had to come back to the board for final approval, because I brought that up specifically.
So can somebody tell me what we do now, what they suggest?
You can put forward another motion to go forward with Goose Holidays.
Okay, I will put forth a motion to go forward with Goose Holidays as deemed necessary by the exploratory committee.
I second it.
Okay.
I think you should phrase it so that you approve that Goose Hollow Days will be going forward in 2021. Not that you're going to explore the possibilities, because that's what they were supposed to do the last few months to report back to us.
Well, I mean, it's his motion, Eric. He can go ahead and give them the power. So I think what he's trying to say is that the Goose Hollow Days Committee has executive authority to decide on our behalf whether to move forward with Goose Hollow Days, because we can't force them. You know, there might be things that come up in the future where the committee says it's just not possible to have it. So Vadim's motion, if I can summarize it, basically says that Goose Hollow Days Committee has executive authority in order to move forward with the decision to hold Goose Hollow Days or not. Is that, Vadim, am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah, exactly. The exploratory committee, I just called it, I guess that's the name of it, but not to explore, it's to go forward with Goose Hollow Days as deemed necessary by the exploratory committee. So they would have executive authority based on that.
Okay, I heard a second by Sherry. Do we have any other further discussion?
Yes, my one discussion, and I talked to Melody from the church, and I haven't heard back from her, but I'd like to participate in it. I was just a wonderful thing. I loved it. My only beef is whenever, just don't have it on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, and preferably not in between either, between the holidays, because for those of us who celebrate, you know, it's a hardship to participate in Goose Hollow Days and, you know, take care of the Jewish holidays with my family at the same time. But that's me. As long as it's not on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right. So, by the way, there are two motions about Goose Hollow Days. There's one in May and there's one in June, and it's slightly different. The one in May is to form a committee to explore organizing Goose Hollow Days in 2021 and investigate and report back to the board on possible options. The one in June is to form a Goose Hollow Days exploratory committee chaired by Sean and Melody with a seed fund of $1,600, with the added explanation of the motion was made to hold the Goose Hollow Days Street Festival for 2021. I think with this motion that Vadim has made, that will make it a little clearer about what the purview of the committee is. If there is no further discussion, we just can go ahead and vote on this. Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of Vadim's motion, just raise your hand. All opposed?
I'm opposed.
And anybody abstaining? No? Okay.
All right, we're all set.
Motion passes. Thank you.
And I just got something else. I don't know how this Gmail got into the system, but I don't. The only email I ever read is sherrysalomon@comcast.net. So if you guys are going to send me information about the Goose Holidays, please send it on that and not the Gmail. Thank you.
All right, Sherry, thank you.
Thank you.
So Jerry Powell is not here to talk about, let's see here. There it is. He's not here to talk about the Stadium Oversight Committee. So we can just go ahead and move on to planning and zoning. And we pretty much kind of covered the topics on that with regard to Block 7 and Madera, Maine, where we approved the letter. There's a hearing on August 5th for that project for design review. It's going to be virtual. We do not have the link for it yet, but I will keep checking the website and send it out to the neighborhood when it's posted. So hopefully it'll be posted soon and we can put it on people's calendars. And finally, Neighbors West Northwest. There was no meeting this month, so there's nothing to report. I'd like to open this up to other business. So if anybody else on the board would like to raise something, then speak now or forever hold your peace.
I've got something else. I heard today from the lady, and I forget her name, but I think that she's also, I sent something to Tiffany. Did you ever get it? the lady from the diesel particulates. Did you get my email?
Yes.
Yes, you did get it. Okay, so she wants us to participate. You know, we have been victims of this diesel particulate, and it has to, and then also the terminal, this tar sands thing that which she's also been involved in. So it would be nice if we could just join on with her concern and sign off on preventing all these horrible pollutants coming into our community.
Is that something that you would like to see her present to the neighborhood on?
I think it would be terrific.
Okay.
As far as the particulates, I haven't heard from Greg. Are these two issues connected? I wasn't aware they were.
Well, I think they do, that's her organization, I believe, does both. But I think the main thing is, and I don't have my email, I think that the main thing that she's working on right now is the tar sands.
The rail cars and the tar sands. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. So, hey, Tiffany here. Jenny reached out to me from Cascadia Action, and and she didn't give us enough. I told her, in all honesty, we, as a neighborhood, we always like to learn more about the topic, you know, not just a few hours right before our board meeting. And she was hoping we could turn around within, you know, hours or what have you, or a couple of days to respond back. And I told her, we can't move that fast. Number two, we need to learn more information, because making snap decisions quickly to me, I like more time. So, and I told her realistically, we won't be able to respond back to her probably, just because, like, look at how long it takes our boards to move. And second, I told her, I actually had probably a 30-minute conversation with her, that our respective neighborhood has a very big problem right now with burning of hot trash and biohazards in the environment, and losing our trees to fire dangers. So our issues are not necessarily what their neighborhood is, you know, because if we were to prioritize them, the number one thing is we got to get our bike lanes back up. We got to get people to not, right now people want to flee into their cars because they're scared of the environment. So we're actually going backwards. So for us to think about diesel particulates of that nature in their neighborhood up there in Bridgeton, right? I said to her, please walk our neighborhood, we'll walk yours. But for us, we have so many priorities right now. So, and I asked her if Cascadia Action could actually look further into, I showed her data from the unsheltered fire dangers, the burning of plastics and all of those furniture items, and I wanted her to research further with her agency what impact that has on the environment right now, because that's what's in front of us right now. And so she actually reached out to the Fire Bureau. She's working with different agencies because there is environmental issues with burning of trash, right? And losing our trees and what have you. So this is on her radar. So she was hoping that we could probably pay attention to her. She could pay attention to us. I don't know yet, but I just want to let you all know, like, a behind the scenes conversation. Her name's Jenny Holmes. She's really nice. I honestly don't know how close she works with Greg Bourget, I think it is. He's the one that presented us some time ago. But like I said, she also sent me a clarification email. She actually thought we were a different neighborhood and sent us some things. And so she clarified that. So once again, I don't want to make a snap decision without the right documents in front of us that we're looking at. So,
Sherry,
are you our contact for this?
Yes, for Greg, I am. Sherry, the idea that Goose Hollow doesn't have any rail lines running through our neighborhoods. The closest is the Steel Bridge. And so the idea that she might have been contacting the wrong person is possible. I mean, it's such, you know, it's obviously an anti-pollution idea, and she may be looking for sign-ons other than that. So
well, I can tell you, if we have one of those exploding trains, we will feel it in Goose Hollow, from that distance away.
Yes, but she's talking about the traveling, the moving of the transport of the materials. That's what she's really worried about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I hear. Yeah.
Can I introduce a new business as well? This is just, I didn't realize we were not going to have a meeting in August. So, on August 24th, the U.S. Justice Department will be holding a hearing before Judge Simon in Federal District Court about police oversight here in Portland. One of the things that they're going to be recommending, their number one priority, is body-worn cameras for the police. As a form of oversight, I spoke with, I'll try to be short here, but I spoke with the New Orleans department that overviews police there, that hears complaints against the police bureau. And they say that the cameras that were brought to New Orleans a few years ago helped them increase transparency with the police, helped them overview what the police are doing and change policies accordingly, save the city money in lawsuits, because sometimes people would sue the city and the body-worn cameras would actually show that the police acted accordingly. Had a lot of benefits. Those are supported here in the city by the Justice Department, by the police themselves, by Mayor Ted Wheeler, but there are people like Portland Cop Watch and other organizations that are vehemently, that have concerns about the body cameras. And one of the things I'm doing is on August 24th, during that hearing, the status conference in federal court, I'll be providing some testimony there in my personal capacity and some of the other things that I'm doing around the city. But something that really helps the judge and other people understand community needs would be letters such as from Goose Hollow Neighborhood Association. So what do y'all think about advocating, and this, I'm going to phrase it this way, advocating body-worn cameras for Portland Police Bureau as a means of community oversight of the police bureau?
First of all, thank you for all this work you're doing. It's really important stuff. And I support what you're, the cameras. What about the police union? Aren't they opposed to the cameras?
No, they're actually not. They think as a result of what happened during the protests and the riots, they feel that had there been body cameras at that point in time, they would have been vindicated in a lot of these accusations. So they're actually in agreement that the city should. So both the police union, mayor, who's the police commissioner, and the agencies that have oversight over the police bureau, like the Justice Department, feel that it's necessary. But the people that don't want that are fairly vocal about it, because they're saying that it will lead to arrests of other people, that the cameras are outward facing. And they talk things about such as budget, but the body-worn cameras actually save money in lawsuits and other overheads. So a lot of what has been researched is that they're actually a money-saving thing for a city. And once again, Portland is the only city out of the 75 largest jurisdictions in America that do not have body-worn cameras. And so we get these things like one of the committees I sit on, we actually had videos of a news helicopter videotaping an incident to try to ascertain who was right, because the protester was saying the police abused him or her. And the police were saying that they did not, that there was some crime being done. And because there were no body-worn cameras, there's no way to tell. And we're trying to figure out from other sources. So things like that, we would cut right through. So I do feel pretty strongly about it. I think if Goose Hollow sends a letter saying that as a neighborhood association, we would back, and once again, not just back the police or something like that, but back the fact that there would be oversight over the police bureau, or better oversight over the police bureau. If there was more transparency due to body camera videos, I think it would be helpful. And I'll be raising this with the Pearl and downtown neighborhood associations as well in due time. But I did not realize we weren't going to have an August meeting. So I would like to propose that right now.
I'll second it. Do we have a quorum? Eric left.
Okay. Scott, do you want to take a roll call on that? You're on mute, Scott.
You're mute.
Any further discussion on this?
I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thanks, Scott.
No? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? And not seeing any opposition, any abstentions? Okay. Vadim, is that a letter you're going to be writing on behalf of?
I'll draft it and circulate it.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Vadim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Just, this is really an important issue.
Any other business that we need to take care of? I see we have some, yeah, Catherine.
That's not really
Catherine?
business to take care of. Yeah, thanks, Scott. I just wanted to give an update. We've been working on with Marlene the project for the postcard to go around Goose Hollow Foothills League. There was unfortunately some miscommunication around the deadline towards the end, so that postcard has been delayed. I'm going to resubmit some material, and hopefully we'll be able to get that going again. But I just wanted to give you an update on that project.
Yeah, and now we know what when the neighborhood picnic is, so that might drive people to the picnic.
Yeah, and it gives a little bit more opportunity to circle back and maybe make some changes and updates and things that'll be good for the back of that card. So
Yes, I agree.
still going, but just delayed.
Okay. Okay, anything else? All right, well, it's good to see everybody. We will probably not have an August meeting, just to give you guys a break. We will
So
see
sorry.
we will see each
I'm
other.
sorry too.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry we're not meeting in August.
No, Bridget, it has nothing to do with you. You're going to be on vacation. Are you going to be back in time for the picnic?
I'm honestly, this is gonna sound really lame, but I'm scheduled that weekend around the darn picnic.
Wow.
Although I'm still
dedication.
bitter about the DOG thing, I will be there, and I will be in good spirits.
Okay.
Good for you.
All right. Well, great
And I
seeing
want to
everyone.
say this, thank you. And Tiffany, I just want to tell you, I think you're probably one of the most diplomatic people I have ever met in my life. You are just, you have this gift of just people have frayed nerves and you just soothe them over, just calm, and it's just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. For all of you on the board, thank you for seeing me in my good moments and my
I
bad.
agree.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. You can go ahead and send me the link and I'll post it right away so we can get it off your server.
Block 7 discussion.
We